It is the middle of July, and the heat has settled in to stay. Somewhere not far from you, a woman is standing in her kitchen with a rolled-up newspaper in her hand, and she is losing the fight. The flies came in through the open door an hour ago, and now there are 6 of them circling the table where supper is set. She swats one off the butter dish. 2 more land on the bread. On the windowsill behind her sits a can of poison spray she bought at the store for $9, and she does not like to use it, not with the little ones at the table and the cat underfoot. But she is tired, and she does not know what else to do. So she sprays, and the kitchen smells of chemicals all through supper. I will tell you something, friend. My house sits open all summer long. The doors stand open to the porch. The windows have no glass shut against the heat. And yet you can sit at my table through the whole of a July evening and not have a single fly trouble your plate. And I have never bought a can of poison in my life. Neither did my father. Neither did his. Now how can that be? An open house in the deep of summer, in fly season, and no flies at the table? It is no trick of luck. It is 6 old ways the plain folk have used for 100 years and more to keep the bugs of summer out of the house, without poison, without $1 spent at the store, and without a smell that drives you from your own kitchen. Every one of them is real. I have used every one with my own hands. Some you can do this very afternoon for nothing at all, and not one of them will harm the children or the cat or the food on your table. So pour yourself something cold and stay with me. We will take them one at a time, and I will not rush. And I will tell you plainly which ones do the most work, and which the old folk leaned on hardest, because I am an honest man, and I will not sell you a thing that does not work. And before we begin, if you are the kind of person who would rather keep the old ways than buy a new poison every summer, then this is the place for you. Go on and subscribe, and stay a while. There is a lot of the old knowledge left to share, and I would be glad to have you along. One short word, the same as always. Everything I show you today is real, and it is old. The plain folk did not have the chemical sprays, and truth be told, they did not want them. A man who keeps bees and grows his own food does not care to fill his house with poison. So they had to understand the bug itself, why it comes in, what draws it, what turns it away. And much of what they knew, the men of science have since measured and found true. I will give you those reasons as we go, so you know I am not making it up. And where a method only works part way, and one of them does, I will tell you that too, plain and honest. I would rather give you 6 ways that work than promise you one that does not. Now, the first one, and it is the foundation of all the rest. Here is the truth most folks never stop to think on. A fly in your kitchen is not a mystery. It did not appear out of the air. It came in through a hole, a torn screen, a gap under a door, a window that does not close true. And it came in because something inside called to it. So before you trap a single fly, before you hang a single thing, you do the plainest work of all. You close the door it comes through, and you take away the thing that called it. Let me take those one at a time. First, the openings. Go around your house, slow, on a bright day, and look at your screens. Hold your hand behind them. A torn screen, even a small tear, is an open door to a fly, and most houses have 3 or 4 of them, and nobody has looked in years. A patch of screen and a bit of wire, a few dollars, mends them. The gap under a door where the daylight shows through, a fly walks right under that. A rolled cloth, a strip of wood, a proper sweep from the hardware store for $1 or 2, and you have shut it. The men of science have a plain word for this. They call it exclusion, keeping the bug out of the house in the first place. And every study of it says the same thing. It is the most important step there is. Everything else we do today is for the few that get past this. If you skip this step, you will be trapping flies all summer and never get ahead, because for every one you catch, 3 more walk in under the door. Now the second part, and it matters as much. The fly does not come into your house for no reason. It comes because something is calling it. and that something is almost always food it can lay its eggs in. A fly lives a short, fast life, and all it wants is a damp, rotting place to lay the next batch. So, the scrap bucket with no lid, the fruit going soft in the bowl, the dish left in the sink overnight, the bit of meat juice in the bottom of the trash, the dog's mess in the yard by the door. To a fly, every one of those is a fine place to raise a family, and it can smell them from a long way off. Take those away, and you have not just cleaned your house, you have hushed the very thing that was calling the flies to it. A covered scrap bucket. A trash can with a tight lid, emptied before it turns. Dishes done at night, not left till morning. The fruit kept in the cool of the cellar, the way I showed you, instead of sweating on the counter. My mother kept the cleanest kitchen in the township, and she did not do it to be proud. She did it because she knew that a clean kitchen does not call the flies, and a kitchen that does not call them does not have them. She used to say, "Do not swat the fly, friend. Ask it what it came for, and then take that away." That is the first method, and it is half the whole battle. Shut the door the bug comes through, and take away the thing that called it. Do only this, and your trouble drops by half before you have hung a single trap. Now here is one that will sound like an old wives' tale when I first say it, and I thought the same, until I saw it work with my own eyes, and until I learned the reason behind it, which is real. You take a clear glass jar, or a clear plastic bag, and you fill it most of the way with plain, clean water. Some folks drop a few bright pennies in the bottom, or a bit of foil, and you hang it up, over the doorway where the flies come in, or in the window where the sun can strike it. And the flies will not pass it. They will come to that doorway, and they will turn and go elsewhere. Now I know how that sounds. Let me tell you why it works, because the why is real, and it is not magic. A fly does not see the world the way you and I do. Where you have two eyes, a fly has two great eyes, made of thousands of tiny ones, all packed together, and it cannot move them or focus them the way we do. It steers itself by light. It reads the light of the world to know which way is up, which way is safe, which way to fly. Now put a clear bag of water in the sun. The water bends the light. It scatters it, throws it every which way, the same as a drop of dew throws a little rainbow. To you, it is pretty. But to that fly, with its 1,000-part eye reading the light to steer by, it is a sudden blinding confusion right where it meant to fly. The light says danger, says wrong, says go back, and the fly, not liking it, turns and goes elsewhere. The Farm Bureau down in Tennessee wrote this up plain, that the bending of the light through the water confuses the fly's eye and turns it away. It is the simplest thing in the world. A jar, some water, a nail to hang it on. Now I will be honest with you, the same as I always am. This one does not kill a fly, and it does not clear a kitchen that is already full of them. What it does is turn flies away at the door. It is a guard at the entrance, not an army inside. So you hang it where they come in, the kitchen door, the porch door, the sunny window. And you use it alongside the first method, not instead of it. A guard at a door you have already shut tight is worth a great deal. A guard at a door standing wide with the trash uncovered behind it is worth little. The plain folk have hung these by their doors for longer than anyone can say. I have one over my own kitchen door right now, catching the afternoon sun. It cost me nothing but an old jar. Now we are halfway, friend. And if what I am showing you is the kind of plain, honest knowledge you came for, do me the small kindness of subscribing so the next one finds its way to you. It costs you nothing, and it tells me to keep making these. Now, back to the work. You have seen the flypaper they sell at the store. The sticky curl of brown ribbon that hangs from the ceiling. Well, the plain folk made their own long before any store sold it, and it costs you next to nothing, and it works just as well. Here is how. You take some plain brown paper, A cut-open grocery sack does fine, and you make a sticky syrup to coat it. The old recipe is simple: a bit of sugar and corn syrup and a little water, warmed together on the stove until it is good and thick and sticky. Some used molasses, some used honey gone hard. Anything sweet and thick will do. You brush that syrup onto your strips of paper, and you hang them where the flies gather, by the window, over the table, in the corner where they swarm of an afternoon. The flies come to the sweet, they land, and they do not leave. That is the whole of it. It does not poison anything. It does not smell. It harms no child and no cat. The worst that happens is a sticky finger, and that washes off. And it costs you a spoon of sugar and a sheet of paper you were going to throw away. I will tell you, in most every plain home I have ever been in, there is a strip or two of this hanging in each room through the summer. It is just part of keeping house. You hang a fresh one when the old one fills, and you burn the old one in the stove. My grandmother kept a pot of the syrup ready on the back of the stove all summer long, and a stack of cut paper beside it, and she would hang a fresh strip the moment one filled. It was no trouble to her. It was just the way of it. A word of honest advice: hang it where you will not walk into it. A strip of sticky paper in the hair is a lesson you only need to learn the once. High in the corner, by the window, out of the way of a tall man and a running child. There. Now it works for you and troubles no one. The first three methods are for the house. This one is for outside the house, for the porch, the doorway, the yard where you sit of an evening, and it works on a different principle. Instead of turning the fly away, you give it something more tempting than your supper, and you set that something well away from where you sit. The plain folk down in the Indiana settlements have hung these for generations. I have seen them myself. The green soda bottles dangling from the low branches of the fruit trees, and they truly do work. Here is how you make one. You take an old bottle or a jar. You put in it a little sugar, a splash of vinegar, some water, and, this is the part that does the work, a piece of fruit going soft, or a banana peel a few days old, something on the turn. You hang it from a branch or a hook, out away from the porch, downwind if you can manage it. Now here is the reason it works, and it is the very opposite of keeping a clean kitchen. Remember I told you a fly is looking for a rotting place to lay its eggs? Well, this trap is the most tempting rotting place for a long way around. The smell of the soured fruit calls every fly in the yard, calls them away from your door and your table and over to the trap. They crawl in after the sweet rot, and they do not find their way back out. You are not cleaning the air with this one. You are doing the reverse. You are setting a thing fouler and more tempting than anything by your door, and you are setting it far off, so the flies go there instead of to you. A decoy, you might call it, a lightning rod for flies. Now the honest word, and it is a plain one. This thing stinks. That is how it works. The worse it smells, the better it draws. So you do not hang it in the house, not ever, and not right beside where you sit. You hang it out in the yard, 10 or 15 feet off, away from the wind that blows toward your chair. Done right, it pulls the flies away from you and toward itself all evening long. Done wrong, hung too close, it just brings every fly in the county to your elbow. Out and away. That is the rule. Empty it when it fills, bury what is in it, and start again. Costs you a bottle from the bin and a bit of fruit too far gone to eat. This one is the pleasantest of all, because it makes your house smell sweet to you. At the very same time, it smells foul to the fly. There are plants, common kitchen herbs, most of them, that a fly cannot abide. Where you and I smell something fresh and good, the fly smells something sharp and wrong, and it keeps away. The plain folk have always known this, and they planted these herbs not just for the cooking pot, but right by the doors and under the windows to stand guard. Which ones? Basil is the strongest of them. A pot of basil on the kitchen windowsill does double duty. Sweet for your tomatoes and sharp to the fly. Mint the same, though, mind you, mint will take over a garden bed if you let it. so keep it in a pot. Lavender, by the door, smells of heaven to you and drives the fly off, and the moth too. And the old bitter ones, wormwood, tansy, the strong-smelling herbs my grandmother hung in dried bunches by the door and laid in the cupboards. Now how does it work? The same reason as the others. The fly steers by its senses, and a strong, sharp smell it does not like is a wall to it, the same as the bent light was a wall. It does not want to push through the sharp smell to get to your kitchen, so it goes around. And around means away. You can do this two ways. The living way. Pots of basil and mint on the sills, lavender by the door, planted where the fly must pass them to get in. Or the dried way, the old way. Bunches of these herbs hung by the door and in the windows, or a few drops of their oil on a cloth or a cotton ball, set on the sill and freshened when the smell fades. The honest word on this one? It is a helper, not a wall of iron. A pot of basil will not save a filthy kitchen with the trash uncovered. Nothing will. But a few good, strong-smelling plants by a clean door, alongside the screen you have mended and the jar of water you have hung, make that doorway a place a fly would rather not come near. And your kitchen smells of basil and lavender instead of poison. That is a fair trade in any man's book. My wife keeps basil and mint on every windowsill of the kitchen, and a lavender by the door, all summer. She would keep them for the smell alone. That they turn the flies as well is just the Lord being generous. I have saved this one for last on purpose, because it is the one where I must be most honest with you. And honesty is the whole of why you are here, instead of watching a man sell you a spray. The ants. They come in a line across the kitchen floor in the warm weather, marching to a crumb and back to the wall, an endless little road of them. And there is a thing the old folk did, and a thing the internet will tell you, and I must sort the true from the false, because they have gotten muddled together. Here is what is true. An ant does not wander by luck. It lays down a scent as it walks, an invisible trail, and every ant behind it follows that exact trail to the food and home again. That is the line you see. It is a scent road. So here is what works and why. If you wipe that trail away with something strong-smelling, plain vinegar and water on a cloth, wiped right along where they march, you erase the scent road. The ants behind lose the path. They mill about, confused, and the line breaks up for a while. That is real, and it works, and it costs you a splash of vinegar. But, and here is where I must be honest, the same as I was with the wet sheet last time, wiping the trail does not kill the ants, and it does not solve the thing for good. The vinegar smell fades in a few hours, and if the food is still there to be found, a new ant will find it and lay a fresh trail, and the line comes back. Anyone who tells you a sprinkle of cinnamon or a splash of vinegar gets rid of ants forever is selling you something, or does not know. It breaks the trail for a time. That is all it does, and I will not pretend otherwise. So what is the real answer? It is the same as the very first method. Come back around. The ants are marching to food. Take away the food, and you take away the reason for the road. Wipe the trail with vinegar to scatter the ones already marching, and at the same time, find what they are marching to and put it away. The sugar bowl with the loose lid, the honey jar that drips down its side, the crumbs in the corner under the bread box, the pet's dish left down with food in it. Seal the sweet things in tight jars, wipe up the spills the moment they happen, sweep the crumbs, and the ants have nothing to march to, and the road does not come back. That is the honest method, not a magic powder, a scattered trail and an empty cupboard working together. The plain folk kept their sugar and their honey in tight crocks with heavy lids, and they did not have ant troubles, and now you know why. Now let me stop and draw it all together, because here is where it comes clear. Not one of these 6 stands alone. They are not 6 separate tricks. They are one plan in layers, and each one guards against what slips past the one before. Start at the outside and work in. The trap on the porch pulls the flies away before they ever reach the house. The plants by the door and the jar of water in the sun turn away most of the few that still come. The mended screen and the tight-shut door stop the ones that get past the plants. The clean kitchen, with nothing left out to call them, gives the rare fly that does get in no reason to stay. And the homemade flypaper in the corner quietly catches that last stubborn one. And all the while, the sealed sugar crock and the wiped trail keep the ants from ever starting their road.
Layer on layer, friend. Each cheap, each simple, each safe for the children and the cat and the food on the table. Put them together, and you have a house that stays its own in the deep of summer, open to the cool night air, and yet quiet and clean inside. And you have not bought a single can of poison, nor filled your home with a smell you would not want your grandchildren breathing. The plain folk lived this way through 300 summers, with the doors standing open and the children at the table, and they did not lose the fight to the flies. They simply understood them, where they come from, what calls them, what turns them away, and they used that understanding, instead of a poison, to keep their houses their own. So here is what I would have you do, and I will make it small, because a thing too big never gets started. This week, before you buy another can of anything, walk around your house on a bright day and look at your screens and the gaps under your doors. Mend the worst one. Then cover your scrap bucket and put the soft fruit in the cool so nothing is left calling. That much costs you almost nothing and a single afternoon, and it will cut your fly trouble in half before you have hung a single jar. And then, if you like, hang a clear jar of water over your kitchen door in the sun, and brush up a strip of the old sweet fly paper for the corner. Small things, cheap things, safe things. And by week's end, you will sit at your own table in the open summer evening, and the flies will trouble someone else's supper, not yours. Now I have a question for you, friend. The same as always, for the truth is, you teach me as much as I teach you. Tell me down in the comments, what did your mother or your grandmother do to keep the flies and the bugs out of the house in the summer, before the sprays? Put it down below. I read every one. The herb hung by the door. The screen door that slapped shut on its spring. The thing I have never heard of and ought to know. Put it down below. I read every one. Slow. And some of you remember things worth more than gold. And if these old ways are the kind of thing you would rather keep alive than lose, then subscribe and stay with me. There is a great deal of the old knowledge left, and I am glad of the company in sharing it. Until then, keep your door shut tight, your kitchen clean, and a jar of well water shining in the window. The flies have not changed their nature in 1,000 years. Neither has the plain wisdom that turns them away. God keep you, friend. We will talk again.